Hello, Gemini. Happy holidays. It is the season, right? And you have a smack full house in your 7th house for relationships. So it's going to be a big, big, big relationship month for you. There's a little stellium going on. We have Venus, which is finalizing its journey there in Scorpio. It's been there now in November. So you've had some time to really deepen your emotions. A little bit maybe of an intense period for you. Some of you might have felt that in between co-workers and so forth, there might have been situations that's come up, which has really called you more so to the forefront to speak your truth and to share your positive, great energy. They might have been leaning on you, and you might have been the it person at work in November. But as we start out December 1st, Venus is going to be moving into your 7th house, meeting up with the Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and also the new moon. So you can see that that is going to be center stage. And this new moon, Gemini, is going to be somewhat different in the sense, not only is it going to put relationships at the forefront, or any partnerships, you know, people you work with one-on-one, but it is conjuncting Saturn. So that's going to ask you to stand up for what you believe. It's your essence, it's your foundation, it is your roots, and it's what you master. So in this sense, this is going to take place on December 18th, 26 degrees in Sagittarius. So whatever other planets you have, 26 degrees in your chart will be infused by this new moon and Saturn. Of course, the new moon is always about intentions, right? And so what should your intentions be this month? Well, anything that has to do with partnerships and wanting it to grow in a stronger sense. Always think about Saturn being the glue, keeping things together karmically, right? So I'm feeling it's very sober, which Saturn is, right? And the moon is your emotion, so you are sober, you're real. Hopefully your partner at this time too will reflect back to you that mirror image of being real and genuine. We also have Mercury Retrograde this month, so this new moon Saturn will be conjuncting this retrograde. So perhaps you and your partner are going to bring up things from the past. It could be old memories or promises that you made at some point that never really happened, that fizzled. Well, now that could become very much so a focal point to talk about, to discuss, and figure out where do we go from here. You know, this is in the sign of Sagittarius, Gemini, so that is you heading towards those far-fetched horizons, looking at the long term of where your relationship is and where you want to end up. So it's really working these things together. The Sun, which is the essence of you, is passing through this house too. So you are definitely very, very present, and I feel that you're really going to call your partner forward as well, so you guys can put the stage right, because it's going to be 12 months before the Sun is here. It's going to be 12 months before Mercury's here, which is communication. Saturn won't be there though next year, as Saturn is concluding its journey, right? You've been maybe this is the gift with the new moon and the Sun and Mercury coming there looking at things, because Saturn has really been trying you, testing you over the last 2.5 years of the depth and the sense of realness. How genuine has your relationship been? There might have been some more, should I say, responsibilities or burdens, or taking on, maybe you've been supporting your partner, or maybe you have been needing your partner more these last couple of years. But Saturn this month is going to be moving into your 8th house. So we can wave goodbye to Saturn. This is going to be on December 19th. So the weight is off your shoulders. Maybe this new moon here could be the gift that Saturn is leaving you on the doorstep as it departs. Because if we think the new moon is on the 18th and Saturn leaves on the 19th, that is fantastic. You know, it doesn't get better than that. But Saturn, though, what is it going to do when it moves out this month? It is going to move into your 8th house of shared resources. So now you've been grounding and securing your relationship, but what are we doing with our finances? Should we have joint resources? Should we refinance now and get a mortgage with both names on? That kind of thing can come up. Maybe you're going to be looking at retirement funds. How much are you going to be able to shore up for your partner? How much will your partner be able to shore up for you in the long term? But you know what? It's not going to happen all at once. Saturn's going to give you 2.5 years to work the financial situation of all your savings and so forth. Some of you might be taking on some more financial responsibilities in this time, maybe taking on new mortgages and so forth. But whatever the deal is, you just want to make sure you're not running up your credit cards, because Saturn will try to limit that. Think about Saturn with rings around it. It limits, but also because it protects, right? So if you're feeling that that is the case, maybe that's a good thing. But not if you're trying to apply for a loan and Saturn's holding it out. That could also be for some of you, not all of you. So we got a lot of motion. Jupiter is now in Scorpio. We talked about that last month. And for you, that is in your 6th house for work, your co-workers, your day-to-day life. Jupiter is just opening up a whole new area for you. You know, you've had a lot of fun, Gemini. I've got to give you that this last month. No, this last year. You're the ones who had Jupiter in your 5th house for joy, activities that are all about self-expression and play and so forth. So now it's back to work. You're focusing. Now, Venus will be there just a few hours until it moves into your 7th house. So she's been there accompanying Jupiter. Mars, though, is balancing here to and fro. This is within your relationship as well, not necessarily your marriage or the long-term partnerships, which it could be, but it's still a little playful hanging here in the 5th house, so you might spend some romantic time. And no kidding, since both your 5th and 7th house is lighting up, but the 5th house is also children. So some of you might just feel that you want to spend some more time with your children. And of course, coming up in the holiday season and so forth, for those of you who have children living out of state, out of country, what a wonderful time to have where you can spend time with them. However, though, Mars will have moved by the time of the holidays, because it is changing signs. It's moving out of Libra, where you've been balancing your choices and so forth, moving into Scorpio on December 9th, all right? So that's for you now, ushering forward your energy into your daily structure and routine. It will be now accompanying Jupiter, which is already there. And since Mars is in Scorpio at that time, Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio, so it's comfortable in this sign because it really is passion, right? So you're going to be passionate about what you're doing those last few weeks of December. The full moon is on December 3rd, and that will be on center stage in your 1st house, Gemini. It's in your sign, in other words. And so it's you, your personality, which is called to the forefront. You're going to be totally illuminated. If you've been working towards something special, well, then this is what is going to show up at the time. And I feel that you're going to be very happy and proud of whatever it is that comes to the forefront. I feel relationships could be pretty much in the picture as well, since the full moon is here floodlighting that 7th house with all the planets going on there, that little stellium. So between you and your partner, I feel that is what you can expect under this full moon. Jupiter and Neptune on the 2nd. Well, Jupiter, as we know, is all about joy, happiness, abundance. That happy-go-lucky, jovial feeling that Jupiter gives is aligning in a beautiful golden trine to Neptune. Now, Neptune is your vision. It is what you are trying to accomplish in the long run. Nothing in this material world can ever manifest unless we don't see it here first. So Jupiter is expanding your inner vision and projecting it onto that horizon. So yes, sometimes under a trine we can receive what we have worked for. That was a vision of the past, right? That you were working towards. So sometimes those visions will manifest under a beautiful trine like this as a beautiful gift, but don't stop dreaming. Don't stop visualizing. Jupiter is now taking that next step to see what it wants to materialize in the long run. And of course, it doesn't mean that you have to manifest that dream here this month or next. You have pretty good long run to be able to do so. But it's all about seeing where you're heading so that you can build it structurally and financially, whatever it is, right? Could be a little misunderstanding also on the 2nd with the Sun and Neptune. They're square, so we want to make sure that we're hearing what we're hearing. If there's any doubt, if there's any question, ask the question, just so it doesn't sit there and fester, which I believe you will do very well about. On the 6th, we have Mercury. Two things going on with Mercury. Mercury being the messenger, right? Now, Mercury turned retrograde on the 3rd and will be retrograde until December 22nd. So we want to make sure what we're communicating, how we're communicating it, right? Mercury and Saturn, they're conjunct, so they're sharing that same degree in the sky. Saturn is our own sense of maturity. It could be our fathers, it could be our boss, right? Anything that holds a lot of oomph is here. And so this discussion could also even be a negotiation. For example, Mars is in the picture at the same time, really trying to push things forward. You might feel all that energy that you just like to jump, you'd like to act, because Mars is not a very patient planet, right? But Saturn is kind of saying, listen to what is being proposed today, but perhaps hang back before you give it your yes, your green light, unless you absolutely have to, until after the 22nd, and better yet, guys, if you can wait until the new year, just to give Mercury a little time to get out of its shadow from that retrograde. The only exemption from the rule is if you have discussed or negotiated this very whatever situation will manifest for you in the past, then it's okay, because then you're just prolonging it. It's only caution to start anything new, like a new job. I wouldn't put out applications at this time. You would want to wait for that later. But if you already had applications in, then you're already in the run. So that's the difference there. But yes, it's an active day. There's good news coming, great feedback on the 10th, probably, and pretty much so tied into what took place there on the 6th. I feel it's a good surprise. There could be also some situation here on the romantic level, or maybe even on a material level, same day on the 10th. This is when Venus and Neptune, they're square. So, you know, it is time for the holidays, gift shopping and everything, and since Mercury is retrograde, you might purchase something, which is Venus, buying the presents, right, with Neptune. Something might seem like a really, really good deal, but then again, it might not turn out exactly what you had been hoping for, and that could be due to that retrograde. So a little caution there on the 10th. In fact, when we're talking about Christmas shopping, it would be much better if you can get that done in November before December starts, or at least there before the 3rd. Then we have more news. You know, it's a communicative month. Mercury is like all over the map here, and that is your ruler. So good news coming in. I feel a deal is perhaps at hand where you and your communication is one, so that whatever news is coming is directly aimed there at you. On the 15th, more news coming in. Now, Mercury is delivering it to Venus. So this is a day where you can receive sweet words from your loved one, or promises, or maybe getting engaged, or could, for example, be office parties too, you know, where there's just all this lovely energy, where Venus is just super happy. Maybe you're receiving a bonus here at this time, since Venus can also represent money, right? So on the 16th, I feel there's a sense and a feeling of freedom and liberation from something. Maybe a project that you have been working on can fulfill itself so that you can release it before the holidays take place. There is, though, I feel your Uranus from the 11th house has to do with groups and organizations, Gemini. So whomever you are affiliated with at this time, they might just come to the table and bring you some good news. And so your sun being in the 7th house, it could be a partnership with some affiliation. But it's also a great time to hang with friends. That's why I'm talking about office party and pre-Christmas parties. It's a very, very social time for you. And I think that you're going to try to reach all of them, but you might have to step aside and if you can't be all places all at one time, if they happen to all come in on the same dates. Because there's even more of this here at the 20th. So I feel you're doing really, really good, Gemini there. On the 21st though, we have the Sun and Saturn. Now, if you recall on the 6th, we had Mercury and Saturn. They were talking about a certain negotiation or decision, a deal, whatever it panned out to be for you. On the 21st, we have the same thing here now with the Sun though. So maybe you have asked for a little time and we're very close to Mercury going direct, which would be then tomorrow on the 22nd. So there might be some communication and you looking at what it is you want to do, and you might say, okay, let me sleep on it, I'll get back to you tomorrow, because Mercury is direct, right? And that should be great. And I think actually before Christmas Day, you might have a response. Then you might give a green light, you might give a yes, because on Christmas Day we have Venus and Saturn. And so, you know, this holiday, for those of you celebrating Christmas, even for those of you at Hanukkah, it's actually a nice month here with lineups of beautiful planets to celebrate. But for those of you on Christmas Eve, well, you know, having Venus and Saturn conjunct, that's just you feeling so good about having your family, your close family members, children, grandchildren all together and beautifully aligned. And this will be here in your 8th house, right? So it's intensity. It is the feeling of just closeness and depth. The 8th house is all about how we feel deeply, deeply inside. We have Venus going into your 8th house on Christmas Eve. So we have actually the conjunction of both Venus and Saturn knocking on the door of the 8th house, waving goodbye to where they have been in your relationship area. You're heading in towards a whole new era. And Saturn couldn't have a better friend to walk hand in hand in through that door. You're going to feel great, Gemini. I feel you're definitely lining things up for 2018. We can see that on the placement of Mars. Mars now in Scorpio for you. Trining Neptune, which is your goal, your intention, your dreams, and so forth. Neptune being in your career house, right? So on the 28th, there might be again another office party where you could be joining with your friends there and celebrating what was achieved in 2017, but also where you're all looking forward to what 2018 is. And since this is the way the month ends, this is also how you're all set up to receive New Year's, right? And of course, New Year's Eve is always when we place our intentions for the entire year. And having that beam from Mars to your Neptune, I feel that you are sensing that next year is going to be the year for major things to kick into action. And I can promise you, you will see action this year in your career area. There has been some challenges, you know, from your point of view where you've been wanting to attain something concrete, not just the dream of or the promises of. You know how Neptune can be. It's very beautiful in the sense of